Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is the 5th episode in our What is Freedom? The 28 Principles of Liberty that we've done. Everybody say hi to Tag. We got a special guest tonight. That guy up in the upper corner is Spags Unfiltered. Spags, how you doing, man?
What's going on, brother? How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Hey, listen, before we get started, there's a couple things I want to say. First off, when Tag and I started this, I had no idea what this was going to be. I knew there's going to be a lot of commentary, but over the time, it's kind of evolved into a study of the Declaration of Independence, which was cool. And on a lark, I wanted to go see who else was doing this. And so I did a couple of searches on YouTube, and the only people talking about this the way we are the big people like Prager University and Hillsdale. There's nobody our size that's talking about this right now. And I realize that other people's YouTube searches are different from mine, but I just think it's kind of cool that we're out here talking about this when nobody else is. And then the second thing is, folks, the two principles tonight can be very controversial. All right. I want you guys to strap yourselves in, because this is going to be a fun ride. All right. So let's get started. Okay. So last week we did principles 8 and 9, and they were 8 is mankind are endowed by God with certain unalienable rights. And then 9 was to protect human rights. God has revealed a code of divine law. All right. So that brings us to 10. Those two build directly onto this principle. Principle 10 reads, the God-given right to govern is vested in the sovereign authority of the whole people. Spags, you're the guest, man. Why don't you go ahead and start with that?
Oh boy, where to start? I'm just going to warn your audience now that I am not going to come from this from a perspective they are probably expecting. As I have said before, I am I am a libertarian anarchist. I don't care for government, no matter how enlightened it is. So my perspective on this is going to be from the perspective of, I'm here. I guess this is what I kind of have to live under. Now, that being said, I will acknowledge right off the bat, because I am not an apologist and I am not a revisionist of history, the founding fathers and the Constitution to this country are head and shoulders more enlightened than any document that mankind has ever written before. It was the closest attempt ever undertaken by man to live free. And so I am, even as an anarchist, very grateful for the fact that I was born in this country.
Amen.
And that I wasn't born in Ethiopia or Zimbabwe or Brazil or Lithuania or some other place.
Australia.
So understand that what I will say tonight is philosophical, and it is, there's the world we want, then there's the world we're in. And I'm going to discuss a lot of the world we should want, as well as the world that we're in.
Excellent. Tag?
Yeah, I think this one's actually simple, and I don't know how it's controversial at all. I mean, Principle 10 basically establishes that the people are the ruler.
Yep.
And Principle 11 says what happens when they're not the ruler. What's the recourse? I mean, I don't think this one's complicated at all. I mean, this is what makes America free. This is what made it different from every other country, in every other civilization.
Yeah, and the key word in that I kind of gravitated towards was sovereign. And so the definition of sovereign is one who exercises supreme or permanent authority. But an alternative definition is a king, a queen, or other noble person who serves as a chief of state. And the way this is written, the way the Declaration of Independence is written, the framers elevated the average citizen to the level of the monarch. And that in itself is so revolutionary
Mhm.
and such an enlightened view of things. And without that elevation, there's no way that principle number 11 could even come about. We couldn't even discuss it if they had not elevated us from subjects to citizens, right? And that's really all I got to say about 10. Tag hit it right on the head. It's pretty darn simple. I mean, you can't
I think
argue.
the one thing I would change about your statement, G, is
Okay.
you said that it elevated the average citizen. It did more than that. It elevated the average citizen, the privileged citizen, the underprivileged citizen, the minority, the majority. It elevated all men are created equal and endowed by their creator, right? As it said earlier, it elevated everybody to monarch, and it put it to where the powers that be served us and it wasn't the other way around. Now that's not being followed, right? And we can get into that all we want, but the principles of the document elevated everybody as all men are created equul, which is what makes it so beautiful.
Okay, word Nazi.
I know, right? Would you expect anything else, G? We've been at this how many of these?
I should have known better.
Well, to be fair, words have meaning, and the reason our society sucks ass right now is because we've stopped giving meaning to words. We've just reinterpreted everything. So.
I stand humbled. I stand here humbled. I will choose my words better next time.
Or just get the word Uzi and as many words as you can, then he won't be able to dodge them like Neo fast enough.
Well, if nobody has anything else on that one, let's move on to principle number 11. And this one, out of all the principles, this one is probably the most meatiest. Okay, so principle 11 is the majority of the people may alter or abolish a government which has become tyrannical. Tag, why don't you go ahead and pontificate?
Yeah, so this is actually interesting. Through the Article 5, it gives us 4 options to do this, right? Or 4 different ways to do it. And some of them are being done today. I don't know if you guys are even familiar with the big push for the Convention of States. The Article 5 Convention of States that's going on. But it takes 38 states to do it. 19 have signed on. 22 have legislation pending this year in 2022. And I think 6 others are, one of the 2 houses have already passed it, something like that. So this is an ongoing thing that's going on right now. But I'll tell you guys, I don't know that I'm a big fan of this, about the Convention of States, because it's always easy to say the grass is greener on the other side, but what comes out thing. And this has been infiltrated by the Karens and the unicorns and the zombies. And so the Karens, the unicorns, and the zombies, how do they interpret? Right? How do they write it where it comes back out? Right? How dare you? Right? Totally agree. Yeah. Yes, I don't know that I'm fond of it, but something's got to change. I mean, I guess if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. So maybe that's the other side.
You know what? If the culture in our country was different, I might have a little bit more enthusiasm behind it. I honestly, I don't trust us to pull it off now. I mean, look at the times it's happened before, and we meddled around with the Constitution, and for the most part,
Interstate Commerce Clause. Enough said.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Article 5 has 2 kind of provisions in it that talks about the 2 things that cannot happen. And one, it says that the president has no role in the amendment. So the president of the United States can play no role in this process. And the other one says, something to the effect that no part of this process can eliminate the full voting rights of the state. It can't take away any of the standing of the state as part of Article 5. I think I read that right. It actually says Article 5 says no amendment can deprive a state of its full representation under the United States Senate, as the actual quote. I didn't know that.
There's a lot there. That's a whole series by itself.
Yep.
Spags is over there chomping at the bit, man. He wants this. I can tell he wants to say something.
Go do it,
man.
I disagree with Principle 11 in its entirety.
Okay.
I do not think it should take a majority. majority is democracy and democracy is socialism and socialism can kiss my ass. I think if 10 people want it to be different and they have the balls to do it, they can do it. The problem with liberalism in this country is that it claims to care about minorities, but it ignores the smallest minority of them all, which is the individual. And rights are individual things. They are not collective things. That is collectivism. That is groupthink. And that is one of the only flaws that this document has, is it still relies on collective groupthink. I will always outright reject the fact that you have to get a majority of the people to do something, especially from people when only 3% of the colonial folks actually participated in the Revolutionary War. When you have 3% of the people that actually formed our country out of the colonies of Great Britain, how dare they say it should take a majority? That's insulting, and that flies in the face of actual sovereignty. Mic drop. Everyone gets offended now.
You know what? I can't tag. I can't argue with you.
No, from what I understood, I read those numbers different. I mean, I think his point would still stand the same, but wasn't it at the end of the Revolutionary War, it was a way higher percentage of people involved?
Well, sure. Once the momentum
Right,
gets
right,
going, it's easy to jump on the bandwagon.
Right,
Nobody wanted an electric car 40 years ago.
right, right.
But no, the point is that we have to stop looking at liberty and sovereignty from this weird collective perspective. You know, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, all of that was an enormous step out of colonialism and out of the aristocracies and the oligarchies of Europe, right? And we created this new thing. In my mind, we don't move past that to something better by remaining glued to this concept of the collective. I think we have to start looking at rights for what they are, individual things.
Mhm.
And I think that that is the path forward.
Okay.
How we do that, geez, hell if I know, man. I've got some ideas, but I'm just one dude, you know, which is why I try to live it as a personal philosophy instead of I'm going to go out there with a picket sign and change everybody's mind. I'm not out to change people's minds. I'm out to live what I believe to be right and moral from the individual level. And as the Bible says, be a light to so shine so others can see your good works.
So Bobby said what he said, and I just pulled up the Constitution, and Principle 11 is based on almost the entirety of the second paragraph. And I read it, and if you look at the way it's constructed, there's a declaration of the people's right. There's a warning about prudence and limits of suffering, a detailing of conditions in which people should act, and then the justifications for the framers. The Declaration of the People's Right says absolutely nothing about a majority. It says, let's see, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, that's to do the rights, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. It says absolutely nothing about a majority.
No, but the term the people is still collective, right? So I think that by definition, with the very system they set up, it would have to be a majority because everything else they did was majority too. Everything took a majority of states or a majority of senators or a majority of members of the House. I think it was just kind of in line with what they said at the time.
You know what? They're talking individual rights through the Declaration of Independence. So I think an argument can be made that when they say the right of the people, it's the people can be two people. If they want to separate from the government, they have every right to.
All day.
But I just lost you. I don't know if the recording lost you or not.
I said, I'll take that all day.
Okay. So yeah, I think you may be onto something. I mean, I had not. I got to admit, you kind of came out of left field with that one. But it makes sense.
Well, I think at the end of the day, isn't that what freedom is? You know, people ask me all the time to define freedom because you guys know my channel and the stances that I take.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, freedom is the definition is super, super simple. You know, it's just the ability to live life according to your terms. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. Nothing more, nothing less. And I think that's, I think to Bobby, to your point, that's 100% right.
Michael Malice says it best when people ask him to define anarchy. He's like, there is no definition. It just means you don't speak for me. The rest is practical application.
Mhm. Yeah, I was when I was earlier today, I was doing some reading and they were talking about anarchy versus tyranny, the scale, what takes from, anarchy to get to tyranny. And
Yep.
then right smack in the middle was the constitutional republic,
Yeah.
which I found fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, even with my perspective on the world, it is probably the most enlightened secular governmental document of all time. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and I think
That's where I differ. That's where I differ even from most anarchists who are like, screw it all, burn it all down. We don't need any of it. And I'm like, well, there's the world you want, and then there's the world you got. You really willing to do that? You really willing to divorce yourself from everything just because you read a book about it? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah,
You gotta be practical.
I don't think you can divorce yourself from all of it.
No, it's designed so you can't technically. I mean, now I believe it was under the Obama administration where they upped the price to renounce your U.S. citizenship to damn near $4,000. You have to pay for the right to say I don't want to play anymore.
Right.
How funny is that?
Oh my gosh. Well, and we were talking before before we started, and part of the second paragraph is it leads into the justifications that they used to say why they were separating from the monarchy. There's what, 28 of them, I think. And I started going through them, and man, I'm shocked at how many are in play right now. And most of the ones that are not in play are simply not in play because it's not a monarchy.
Right.
And it's a federal government instead of one person.
And the ones that are in play are exponentially bigger than they were then by leaps and bounds. Back then it was what, 3% total taxes with everything. Now we're taxed at the median rate of like 30%. Until you factor in inflation, which is the hidden tax, then you realize that 99% of all the money you will ever make goes back to the government because of inflation.
Yeah, not 99, 100.
Yeah. You might get to keep that 1 penny. That one pre-82 penny is stashed away because it's copper.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah,
oh
you're
my
right.
God, no, you don't.
Yeah, you're right.
Well,
No,
They
no,
get
no, you
theirs.
don't.
so the principle says it may alter or abolish a government when it has become tyrannical. And the next logical question in that is what does that look like? Now, we all come from prepper backgrounds, and the stereotypical prepper answer is revolution. From my dead hands. That's not a starting point. That's an end point.
No.
And we're not here to advocate violence, so don't think we're thinking that. But you have to understand, and it's a truthful statement, that if all these other things don't work, then the people may be left with no recourse. All right. So what does it look like before we even get to that point? All right. I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think.
Yeah, can I go?
Yeah.
This is the same shit we have right now. Because just like in the Convention of States, just like a lot of these things, laws already exist. We don't follow them. And so for some reason, we think that by creating more laws or amending the Constitution or doing this, it's going to change anything. They don't give a shit about you. They don't care. They ain't going to change jack shit. So I don't see how through the ballot box, I don't see how any of this is going to get changed, to be just direct with you, G. Because it's just like the whole thing about murder. You and I talked about this, killing and murder and all of it. It's already illegal. We don't need an additional law or it's already illegal for a felon to own a gun. It's already legal. Another law is not going to do anything.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm not turning into an anarchist, just for the record.
Oh, I think you secretly are. I think you're just a little more practical. That's all.
Yeah.
He gets alone at night and he throws his Black Flag album on.
There it is.
And I think, I tend to agree with you, Tag, that things have gone on far too long, and you know, I don't know if we reached the tipping point or not. I fear that we're rapidly heading towards it. But before we get there, we can do some things, man, to try to change it. And I think that the whole building the community that we're trying to do through freesteading and through our channels and everything, and just in our everyday lives, trying to build that community. Because if we ignore Washington D.C., they've got power,
That's
but
pretty peachy.
how do they exercise it? Does if the government becomes the aggressor, does that change the equation?
Yes, absolutely so.
Then
What
unfortunately,
finally was the tipping point in any revolution in the history of the world?
Right.
Was it when the citizenry took up pitchforks and stormed Frankenstein's castle, or was it when the government started just completely lobbing heads off and people said enough of this? I don't think you'll find one example in history of a revolution that was kicked off by the revolutionaries.
Mhm.
Yeah, some of the communist well, okay. That's a splitting hairs there. My argument was, so I'm not going to do that.
But G,
I don't have
to your
enough I
point,
can afford to.
yeah, to your point, there is things that we can do. We're doing it. I mean,
Okay.
I just don't think from a federal perspective that the political process, the justice system, the economic system, I don't think we can really impact that much until we can handle it locally. So, and you guys, I talk about this all the time, make sure you're voting for the right sheriff, sit on the school boards, get
School
involved.
board.
All right. So Tag, we had to stop because I'm a cheapskate. Tag, you want to go ahead and finish your statement, or you want to pass the baton off to Bobby?
I don't really even know. Yeah, finish my statement. Shit, didn't you already ask me this? I didn't even know where I was. And then yet here I am. Yeah, I think the point that we were talking about was just that, you just got to get involved at the local level. We've got to figure out a way to do it through community. We've got to figure out a way to do it, locally. And then the ballot box now becomes the wallet, because the only thing that's listened to is the dollar. I'm telling you, let's create a rule tomorrow that says that the feds can no longer plunder the taxpayers' dollars. Nothing will change because it's already illegal.
Yep.
Well, go ahead, Bobby. I know you got some definite opinions on this.
Well, I'm going to take the position, and I do take the position, that we're already past it. You all had your chance. 1993 was your chance. Waco, Texas, Ruby Ridge, Elian Gonzalez. Attorney General Janet Reno is arguably the Jezebel of American politics, perhaps the most wicked person to ever sit in that chair. And she weaponized the ATF and the FBI against regular people, no matter how crazy they were, over a half inch of a barrel of a shotgun. And we sat here and we didn't do a damn thing about it. And that was before DHS. That was before TSA. That was before there was a CCTV camera on every God blessed corner of this country. That was before there were Reapers flying overhead. That was before the ball was pushed so far in the direction of government having all the advantage. We had a chance and nobody did a thing. We watched a handful of people get massacred by the federal government, and everybody stood down. Everybody. We are at the point now we can't do anything in this realm at all, which is why Tag is 100% right. Everything now has to be counter economics. Everything. That's the only thing we have at this point. If we try to part due 1776, we are going to die. Period. End of story. There is no fighting. So we're literally wasting our time at this stage, in my opinion, even entertaining that as a possibility. We have to go galt. We have to remove ourselves from the economic system of this country. We have to bleed it dry by withholding the lifeblood that allows it life. And the Leviathan is, look, you either serve God or you can serve mammon. You can't serve both. And our government certainly doesn't serve God. It serves mammon. So you have to bleed it dry of its mammon, or else it will continue to live and get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well,
Yeah, G. So what do you say to that, yo?
how do we, how do we redeem ourselves?
What we're doing right now.
What we're doing right now. And
yes,
and it's like herding cats. So how do you herd cats?
It's hard to herd cats. It's also hard to get up every day and go to work, but we do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the same reason I don't accept the excuse from the political left that I can't get up and I can't even, so I need free healthcare and a free cell phone and a free wheel of cheese. I don't accept from the right that herding cats is too hard, so we're just not going to do it. Look, right now, all three of us are very unique people. Okay. Some of the other folks we deal with are all individually unique people. We all are very similar, but we all have very different opinions on certain things. And yet here we are, all of us with a hand on that flag, and we're all pushing forward together. Tag is pushing forward. You're pushing forward. Grumpy or Hacks for the Homestead, Getting Deep with Data, Perma Pastures, they're all pushing forward. And what we're doing is we're creating our own coalition of the willing. This is the catalyst. Freesteading.com is the catalyst. The ability to create local events, create local economic booms and hubs whereby we withdraw from Leviathan and we spend our money, our time, and our energy amongst ourselves. That's how we get back. That's how we redeem ourselves. Because once Leviathan gets so freaking fat that it collapses under its own weight, which it will, that's when we have our chance.
Amen. I got really nothing to argue there.
I think what I would add to what Bobby said is when he talks about we're doing it, to get specific into what we're doing is, just continuing to break that stroke. Every single piece of stroke, and there is a lot of it. Keep breaking it, keep breaking it, keep breaking it, keep breaking it. And that is what a modern version of going Galt means. Yes. In the movie, it's about going to, the Galt, but today, I think what it really means is breaking it. That's what Freesteaders came to be. Why it's even here is an alternative place to go. Some other option, besides this, these big monopolies and these big things that go on. Guys, if you can produce your own electricity, produce it. It's one less stroke. If you can produce your own water, produce it. It's one less stroke. You can grow your own food, grow it. It's one less stroke. And I think the more of us that do that, the less dependence we are on the system, the more attention we will get peacefully.
Yes.
Well, and there's a lot of hard decisions that are going to have to be made here in the near future. I mean, if I believe what I say I believe, then there's going to be a lot of hard decisions in the near future. And it's hard to build a physical community. I mean, it takes a long time and it takes a lot of effort. And freesteading is allowing people who live thousands of miles apart to come together as a community. And it's allowing people to make these hard decisions. I mean, you get out there, some of the stories that people are telling out there about what they're going through and the decisions they're making are amazing. I mean, there's and that's only 1,200 people. If every single subscriber from every single one of the current community leaders signed on, Tag, what, 500,000 people, maybe more?
Yep.
Imagine if we were all holding on to that flag and moving it forward.
Yep.
And we can do it incrementally. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be all or nothing like some of these folks preach. If you're living in a condominium in some town, put one garden box in your backyard, grow a couple of tomatoes and a pepper plant. Put one rain collector out and get just enough rain to change your aquarium fish water so you're not on this little things, man. And those little tiny things start to change the way the synapses in your brain fire. And when your brain starts to wake up going, holy cow, that was easy. Or holy cow, that wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it was. And then you're like, I can do a little more. And then you can do a little more and you can do a little more. And by waking people up to their own potential, to their own sovereignty, we can shift that paradigm back to where, sure, we have people who are like, okay, I'm not so terrified of an Article 5 convention now because these people are hardworking, blue collar, salt of the earth people, not a bunch of pink underarm hair dyed freaks. It's that you have to have a quality people for an Article 5 to even begin to work.
Right.
I
And
think
that,
there's-
that
Let's
goes
create
back,
quality people.
we were talking some of the earlier principles about that, a moral people are necessary for the things to work. And as a culture, I don't think anybody could argue that our culture is morally lacking right now and has been for quite a while. So,
I'd like to add something to what Bobby said when he was talking about, go back out and grow a garden. I think there's another big step that we can take, which is to recognize that money or fiat currency is the land of make believe. Get your money out of the markets and go buy a business. If you don't want to run a business, invest in a local business. Take that money into something you control the decision of. Because it's all make believe anyway, right? I mean, and this is coming from a financial guy, right? I don't invest in the markets anymore. I buy businesses. I'm going to do other things. I'm going to do something that I can control a little bit or have a say in a little bit versus keeping the whole machine propped up, which is critical for the machine to continue to run.
well, okay, you say that, Angela and I are trying to build those alternative revenue streams. We're trying to build our own business. And currently we're using third-party stuff, our t-shirt things. That's through Bonfire.
Yep.
How do you address that about, aren't you just taking your money from one place and putting it in someplace else where it's vulnerable?
Well, you may be, but here's the thing, G, is that me and Billy were talking about this tonight on the live about that. About we get a chance to pick winners and losers in a large regard, because I'm going to find a t-shirt maker that's a patriot, that is freedom loving, that I can go and stick on the free setting site where all of these content creators can get their t-shirts made there. We get to choose where we do business at, bud. We get to choose. Take your wallet out and choose. Don't when we get into the wintertime, if we run, like, for example, we don't have any tomatoes, right? Tomatoes don't last real long. It's canned. We want some fresh tomatoes. My wife will drive to every grocery store in Topeka to find a tomato made in America. She just will. There's the little things that we can do. We can take the economics back. The problem is it costs more and it takes more time. And what percentage of the population is willing to deal with the inconvenience and the higher cost of freedom?
Yes. Preach. The founders said, we mutually pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
That's right.
No one's pledging their fortune.
Mm-hmm.
We're all too scared to. Includes me. I'm not going to lie. I don't want my family to be on the street absolutely living out of a cardboard box.
Mm-hmm.
We're all on the hook. So let's remove the freaking hook.
Remove the hook. That is the answer.
I think
shirt right there. Free man, remove the hook.
Yep.
I think you bring up a pretty good point there, Bobby. Out of the what 50 some signers of the Declaration of Independence, by the time the Revolutionary War was over, all of them except for 2 or 3 were completely broke or dead.
Mm-hmm.
Or dead, had been hung, their families had been hung, their estates burned to the ground, and we now live on the bones of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I would argue that their loss of their fortune and their families and their houses allowed this country to grow into the greatest, most powerful country in the history of the world.
Yes.
Well,
and built on their bones.
That's right.
This house had good bones once upon a time, as they say. The house had good bones.
That's right.
And
now
quite frankly,
now it's a bowl of oatmeal.
Nobody wants to be that first 1% doing anything that the federal government's going to come down on like a sledgehammer on a nail that's sticking up. Mm-hmm. But if we get a whole bunch of 1%, that adds up.
It does.
That adds up.
Well, and it's a different 1%. The 1% you're talking about back then picked up muskets. I'm not talking about picking up muskets. I don't think muskets is the answer, but here's the thing: pick up your wallet.
Well, I'm not talking about muskets either, but the federal government's going to come down on. They're shutting down Amish farms for having raw milk. Those people are 1%. They're doing something that is against what the government wants, and the government is coming down on them.
Yeah.
You know what? But like I said before, I find it much easier 10 months removed from selling my homestead, paying off my debt, and doing everything I've done to get here, I feel much better making these hard decisions because
Yeah.
A, they've got less stroke, and B, I've managed to build it, or I didn't build it. I've managed to insert myself into a really good community locally. And we're building a really good one online with free study.
But gee, inserting yourself is helping to build it.
That's right.
Becoming a brick is still being a brick, man. Don't shortchange yourself.
Yeah. That's a t-shirt too. I'm a brick.
I'm a brick.
I would wear that shit.
I am just another brick in the wall, but it's the wall I chose to frickin' build.
Right. You know, I was telling Billy tonight when I was on a show that, you know, social credit scores go both ways.
Yeah.
You know, we get to determine where we spend our capital, whether it's energy capital, you know, your money, whatever it is, we get to decide, and we can pick winners and losers, and we can say, do business here, but.
Dude, I did that when we had the expo. There was that gun shop on South 75 right before you got to Linden, right? And it was a badass gun shop. But if you had spent any time at all in the Kansas gun community, you knew that the guy who ran that shop was an open member of the KKK. And so I put him on blast on the expo page. I didn't care. There's 2 more shops down the street that are better than that shop, who aren't run by some radical bigot, some radical racist piece of shit.
Yep.
Don't go there just because he might have a good, you know, price on ammo. Go over here and spend 3 cents more with somebody you know isn't targeting people for the color of their skin. This is not hard.
Yeah. Well, and I would argue that that the stakes are so high today, it don't matter what the cost is. It don't matter if it was $20 higher.
Yes.
It makes no difference because the costs are so high.
I agree. I would rather come to your house and spend $20 with B on a tomato she locally sourced than go to Walmart and buy 20 tomatoes, 18 of which will go bad because we won't eat them in freaking time.
That's right.
And they taste like ass because they came in on a refrigerated truck.
That's right. That's right.
Quality, not quantity. America's been tricked. We're doing the opposite. We've been convinced that quantity is better, which is why so many people have enormous houses full of worthless shit.
Yep. Yep.
Give me that one tomato, man.
Gee, is this what you expected?
You know what? Kinda. The topic, the conversation is different than what I expected, but I completely expected it going in a direction that nobody thought it would. I mean, we took the principle of overthrowing a tyrannical government and thus far have talked about gardening and economics. You know, where else can you get that? You know, and you guys, this is why I like hanging out with you guys, because you've got such great insight on it. And I, every time I talk to you guys, I learn. You know, I'm a simple guy. I mean, seriously, feed me and keep me warm, and I'm pretty damn happy. You know, I was just telling Angela, aside from some social engagements and going to work for the past 2 months, and the 2 festivals I went to, I have been off the property.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, I have not left the property. In fact, I told her tonight, I said, I have to go into the city at least once every 2 weeks now, just so I can see what's happening. You know, so, you know, and I've got my opinions about this stuff. I mean, I'm unlike Bobby, I'm a firm believer in the constitutional republic. I mean, I firmly believe in that form of government. I think it's probably the best one as far as balancing. I'm going to use a term that's terrible. I hate it, but it's the only thing I can think of right now. Balancing the greater good against individual liberties. You know, I think it does a fantastic job. And unfortunately, we don't live in a constitutional republic anymore.
No.
I mean, name only. You know, if we were to, you know, the forefathers had a revolution for way less than what we are subjected to on a daily basis. And it took the Sons of Liberty were a good 15 years before the revolution even was thought of, you know, and we've been going on what, 60 years now, 70 years. Well, if you go all the way back to the start of the Fed if you want that for a launch point, or you can go back to the beginning of the Civil War as a launch point. So you're talking 125 years, 150 years. So it's time. We have to do something. Bobby's right. We screwed the pooch. And I felt like that for a long time. He just said it way better than I could. We need to do something. And he's right. Picking up a gun and doing what the stereotypical prepper wants to do, the accelerationist, is not the answer.
Nope.
It is not the answer. So we have to come up and we have to first, people like Spags and Tag coming up with ideas. And we need to come up with ideas on how to take back our sovereignty, and then we need to execute it. And I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, Bobby. You said it's easy. The answers are easy. Putting them into action is hard. It is hard.
It can be, yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there, and they're, that in their mind, the world has changed over the last couple of years, and it really hasn't. If we're completely honest about it, the only thing that's changed there is their perspective, right? So now we've got a bunch of people that are scared. They don't know what to do, and we need to provide answers. We don't want to, and we need to provide answers that they understand and are willing to do. These people that want to invoke 150-year-old clause about posse comitatus or whatever, PhDs in understanding the Constitution. Man, you can't teach a PhD course to kindergartners. And that's where, and listen, I'm talking like I'm some person that's in the know. I'm not, man. I'm just some guy out there trying to make a living and trying to be as free as possible. Right. So I think you guys, kudos to both you. My hat's off. And I love what both you guys are preaching. And I think it's really cool that even though we've got three different points of view, that we're all pointed in the same direction now. And 5 years ago, that wasn't the case. 2 years ago, I would almost say that wasn't the case for even this group here. We thought we were, but I don't think we were until just recently, to be honest.
Well, and I think there's another side to this, this is you talk about it being hard. I don't think it's hard. I think it's scary. And I think there's a difference between those two things. I don't really think it's hard. Nothing we do is hard. I just think it's scary because you're taking all the responsibility and putting it on your shoulders, and there's no safety valve.
Right.
It's the lion running across the Serengeti versus the lion in the zoo. And which one do you want to be? Right. You're taking all the risk and all this. Guys, here's the greatest thing about all of this is there are people waking up by the thousands. There are people waking up saying, hey, wait a second. Maybe I should think about taking some of this into my own hands. Maybe I should be a little more observant. Maybe this didn't really work out the way that they said it was going to work out. We have an amazing opportunity to make real difference and make real impact. And that, my friends, at the end of the day is power, is being able to influence somebody in a positive, motivating way. And I can't wait. I think we're living in exciting times.
I 100% agree with that. I'm very excited. A lot of people I know who are preppers are scared right now. And I'm like, why are you scared? This is the moment of opportunity, and you're either going to seize it or you're going to go back to the same place you were in 1993 when Janet Reno came rolling through the world with the ATF.
Yeah.
What are you going to choose, man? Are you going to screw up twice?
Right. Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I choose to be the lion on the Serengeti.
Well, and we would not have made the decision we made 11 months ago had we not been in this community that we're in right now. We would not have made that decision 4 or 5 years ago. Seriously. I don't know what decision we would have made, but it would not have been the one that we made.
Yeah. Because it's scary.
It was extremely scary.
Of course it was.
Especially when you've got a little control issue.
That's what speaks though to the whole thing. What's the one thing you hear so many patriots and preppers say why they won't do anything? Well, there's not enough critical mass. This is critical mass. This is how you reach it. Maybe you wouldn't have done it on your own, but you attach yourself to people who inspire you to do it.
Mhm.
And then someone will eventually see that and they will attach themselves to you. And that starts to become almost reverse parasitic. Instead of being dependent on each other, you draw inspiration to become independent.
Mhm.
And that's how you get that critical mass, by reverse engineering this whole stupid thing that whoever they are has put on us. We get to drive the God blessed narrative. We get to do it. And that's exciting. It is
Yeah.
exciting to say we can be part of the narrative.
Yes.
You know,
I get
that's
to be someone that stands on the street corner and uses the power of articulation to convince 2 more people this week. I've done my job. You convince 2 more people. Tag convinces 2 more people. That's 6 more people within the community. Each of them now reaches 2. What's that? What does that become exponentially? We have to be the inspiration.
Mhm.
And
that's one
Tag,
of
I'm
the
going to
reasons
give you
why I
the, I'm
love
going to give you the
listening.
hats off, man. You've been the one that inspired a lot of them.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I love listening to John Willis when he does his nightly stuff, because he says that message and he's on narrative every single night and he preaches it. It's a gospel to him. And he motivates people to be the best in themselves, you know, and he'll and I love the fact that he's honest about it. You know, when you screw up or you got a bad outlook, he flat out tells you, you know.
Yeah.
And I think more people need to do that. I'm, you know, I don't do that all the time when I should. I'll be honest with you. You know,
Get Garen, but none of us do. Every one of us
We
have
all
moments.
think.
Right. But the question is that once we realize it, what do we get back up the next day and do? You know?
Yeah.
I have my moments, I promise you. B would tell you I'm not the perfect man. I know that's
shocked. I'm
I
completely
know, right?
shocked.
Look, man, none of us have to be perfect alone, but together we just have to be kick ass.
That's
There we
right.
go.
That's right.
There
I
we
think
go.
we're doing a good job.
Yep.
Okay, listen, guys, this turned out to be a great episode. It went directions I didn't even consider it would go in, and I think the messaging is spot on. You know, people need to start taking control and stop denying their agency. You know,
Yes.
so unless you guys got something else to talk about Principle 11, Spags, you got anything going on in your life you want to share with people?
I've been plotting along on freesteading.com. That's what I've been working on, trying to greet everybody who joins the page, which is becoming a losing battle. But I'm going to keep greeting everyone. Someone says, "Hey, I'm new. I heard this from Tag and Billy, or I heard this from Danny and Wanda." Welcome. I'm trying to type welcome to everybody.
Mhm.
Because what I think we as community leaders have to do is make ourselves absolutely approachable and absolutely ever present. And I don't know how we're supposed to do that other than saying hi as soon as they jump on the page.
Right,
But
right.
that's pretty much where my online time has been. Past that, still working on the homestead, just finished up. I'm sure you saw the video with Reagan and I building the duck pen,
Beautiful
answering
video,
their
by the
mouth
way.
breathers. What's that?
Beautiful. It's a beautiful video. I love that
Yes,
video.
I love her so much.
Yeah.
And I knew you would like it specifically because I know you like inspiring young people to use power tools.
Yes. Yes.
So, yep. Nope. I love making that. And her and I were planning on, we've been filming that for weeks,
Mhm.
little bits here and there. But the minute I heard that one dude talk to me saying you should have had your sons do that, I'm like,
Oh, it's on. Yeah.
I got you, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
And you're heading up some sort of little thing that's going on at the end of the month.
Yeah. September 28th through October 2nd at Perry Lake in Kansas is the Midwest Preparedness Project's Fall Festival for 2022.
Number 19.
I'm sorry.
Number 19.
Number 19. We are up to 16 sponsors. I have 6 classes lined up, including a local Kansas guy, Matt Kloffer, who's from a local homestead. He's going to come do a butcher class for us. He's going to be our headliner on Saturday. I'm splitting up the classes this year, so it's not so Saturday centric. It's going to be 3 and 3, Friday and Saturday. Start building it out so each day starts to have more value to grow, the event to being something more than just Saturday's, the big day. I'm going to start making it where every day eventually becomes a big day that everybody wants to go to. Got a ton of stuff to give away. We have so much stuff now that we were able to reduce the prize ticket cost by half. Last year it was $10 a ticket. This year it's $5 a ticket. You can get 5 for $20. Give me a 20 spot, you get 5 chances to win something cool. Stuff's going to come out this week for the classes. Stuff's going to come out the week after that for the prizes. And then we'll see you on the 28th. And all of this can be found at freesteading.com. I would normally have said MeWe and Facebook, but screw it. I'm going to start migrating everything to freesteading.com.
Excellent. Tag, what about you?
Yeah, man, just I'm trying to get pod 4 finished up. I really want to get that pretty tied in by the time the winter time comes. I'm getting older, and climbing upstairs every day to go to the bedroom sucks. And so I've been just working on that, trying to keep the farm up, trying to keep the mowing up, trying to keep the haying up, trying to keep the animals up, trying to be a good husband, trying to be a good friend. And then, I got Freesteaders we're working on, the YouTube channel we're working on, all of that stuff. So I'm a pretty busy guy.
Excellent.
Freesteading.
That's what I said. Didn't I say freesteading?
You said Freesteaders.
I meant freesteading.
Hey, words matter.
Tag's getting a little loopy. Tag's been in front of the camera for a better part of the day.
Yeah.
So we got to get him off so he can get cleaned up and go to bed.
Yeah.
But all right, guys, listen, I really appreciate it. Bobby, thanks for coming by, man. You added such flavor to it. It's not even funny.
Anytime, man.
And Tag, talk to you later. You got anything you want to tell the people before we go?
Yeah, just go golf. Take your resources, take your energy capital, take your money capital, take your time capital, take every capital you got and go do for yourself, and quit doing for the system that has been nothing but betray you your entire life.
Amen.
Be the revolutionary you should be, not the revolutionary they want you to be.
That's right.
Yes.
All right, folks. As always, gonna finish with go pursue a life done free, guys.
Amen.
Take care. We
Yeah.
are here. Thanks, Milo.